welcome to our fourth webinar of this year. And first of all, we as Essential Software Solutions would like to thank all our attendees for joining this webinar. And before I start to my introduction, I want to mention that this webinar is being recorded for educational and marketing purposes. Also, you will receive a copy of the recording in the following days. And let me introduce myself first. I'm Kaan Aytakoglu, and I will be hosting this webinar today. And me and my colleague, Anna Chicarelli, is running the marketing activities for ESS 1.5 years. And as we celebrate our 50th year in 2024, one of our core commitment to delivering the best and most honest ERP evaluations has been steadfast. And as an Infor Gold Channel partner, we always proud to accompany your ERP journey in every stage. So, and I repeat this every webinar, but one more time, I want to thank our dedicated workers, business partners, and clients to make us premier ERP implementation partner of Infor in Western Canada. And today we have a special presenter, and welcome again, Darren. He's Darren Farmer. It's with actually great pleasure that I introduce you to someone whose dedication to supporting visual system spans over 3 decades, and Darren has been a pivotal figure in the realm of IT support, and particularly in his role as the go-to IT guy for manufacturers in North Texas during his initial 15 years. And today, Darren stands before us as independent professional and subcontractor for Infor channel partners, and his unwavering commitment to the visual platform is not just a profession, but also a passion and a dedication that ensures visual customers receive nothing short of exceptional support and solutions. And okay, I think we are ready, but before we begin, let me show you quickly the interface of the Zoho webinar platform. If you have any questions, please, you can simply type them in the Q&A section. And I'll try not to interrupt our speaker during the presentation, but I'll address all your questions at the end. But please don't hesitate to contact with us even after the webinar, so we would be glad to help. Okay, Darren, so if you are good to go, we can start.
Terrific. Well, thank you for the introduction. That was fantastic.
Well, thank you.
So today we're going to take a look at Shop Floor Mobile. I'm assuming everyone here is using Visual Manufacturing and has probably been using it for quite a while. Labor data collection and issuing materials is very important in the visual system. Infor has been really great about continuing to add new functionality and extend the support of how the system works. This Shop Floor Mobile module that you can get, I think, started with version 7 of the software. Really is kind of a drop-in replacement or a complementary system like that works with existing labor barcode data collection in the system. And so if you're familiar with the way that labor collection works, typically you have a bunch of barcodes on your travelers. This really works off that system to allow you to implement your schedule electronically, right, through a website. It takes whatever your schedule is, puts it on a website, and allows you to see the schedule and interact with your work orders and stuff really from any web browser. So Chrome, Firefox, Opera, right? You can literally walk around with an iPad and browse your work orders and issue material and do things. So today we want to take a look at just how the basic functionality of this thing works with the idea of how it can really help you get closer to the paperless ideal that everyone has been talking about. It's like fusion power. I think it's always 30 years away, but someday we'll be paperless, right? So the easiest way to take a look at what's going on is just to see the main screen here. So let me turn on our view of the shop floor thing. All right, we should be seeing this now. And then I'm not sure what you're seeing. Everybody can see the shop floor screens?
Yes, it's
okay.
shop floor screens.
So what we're looking at here is just a Chrome browser, and I've already logged into the system so we can see that, although it might be useful just to start over. So let me close out Chrome, and we'll just relaunch it down here. So this means that anything with the web browser, as long as they're inside your facility, this website actually lives on a computer here on this system. Actually, it's local. So when we log on, we're logging on just to the local machine name. You could put this anywhere you want in your organization, and if you want, you could put it out on the internet, but I would advise that. So I'm logging on right now as sysadmin. You can log on with your regular visual username and password. Every user could have their own login, and they get their own personal view of what's going on. And the great thing about this program is it's automatically going to resize itself to be the most useful. So if you have a teeny tiny little screen like you might see on a phone, it automatically will bunch up your icons and make it where it's usable. And there's a couple of different views you can see in here depending on what you like. If you're pushing buttons with the finger, you might want a big button, but if you're scrolling in a different way, this also is a very nice view for us. Today, we're just going to look at it kind of full screen. It's really divided up into a couple of main sections. The scheduling one is what I think is the most exciting. This is where, every facility has a department and a whiteboard, and they write all the jobs up on the wall. This really can replace that, right? So that as you reschedule something in the visual system, this shows you a view of all the stuff that you have scheduled. So when I click into the scheduling view, the first thing that it shows me is all the operations that I have a right to look at and interact with. So if I'm a supervisor, right, I'm going to set up a view that has a whole bunch of different things. But if I'm just, a press operator, I'm only get to see the first couple of items on here. So we get to tailor the view to what the individual user is going to look at. And then individually, you can see the screen of what's going on. These icons on here are very important. Now, this is a demo database, and so, of course, everything's currently late, and so that's why all these little red clocks are on here. But if you take a look at these icons at a glance, they'll show you what's going on with the various statuses of the jobs that are under here. And I can't recite off all the different statuses, but, this item right here with the checkbox, I think means the job's already been started. I'll have to go back and read the manual on this. But as we scroll off to the right, like I can see all these icons for these employees in here are hollow. If you see one filled in, it means that a person's already actually clocked on to a job in there working on some stuff. As we scroll over to the right, let me see if I can get this to size the way that I want. You see there's a number of additional columns over here. These columns are optional and customizable. And so you can really get at a glance, you can see how many operations there are that need to be done in that work center and the total number of hours that you're supposed to be running through there. So depending on how you run your schedule, if you're scheduling out a week or 2 weeks or whatever, these numbers will represent whatever's actually on the schedule for these things. So this is really an interactive thing, and I can scroll up and down on my list as I click on one of these things. Let's take a look inside this 10-ton press. It goes in and shows you here's the operations that are the individual work orders that I have to do. And you see it's giving you the standard visual work order view. So this is work order number 40,005, lot 1, and we're talking about operation number 10. And as I scroll to the right again, this view is also customizable. You see whatever's on there. Notice there's the ability to have a picture of the part that you're making if you've loaded that into the system. That's very nice for people that are more visually oriented. And the same thing, you get to see it's currently late. The material for this job is available, which is nice, as opposed to not being available, right? And this guy's already got some hours logged into it. Somebody's already put a labor ticket on here as opposed to not starting this job. As you can see, depending on what your priorities are for these work orders, the oldest thing effectively will be at the top, depending on how the schedule works. You also have the ability to come in here and show stuff like where it goes next. This could be really important for dispatch, right? Once I get done with my operation 10 on this job, we're going to go to operation 20, which is the 5-ton press. And again, you can click on this little gear icon right here and customize a number of these columns, which I think is nice, including the ability to put in your user-defined fields, right? So if you're putting in, important dimensional information or something like that about the part, that stuff will pass right through onto this website. The other thing that's kind of interesting about this is, let's say I'm the 10-ton press guy and I want to put all my common gauge metal together, and I look at the schedule and the first thing I say is, well, I'm not going to do it in this order. You have the opportunity to plan your day a little bit. I can go in here and select one or more jobs and say, I'd like to move this up. I'm going to do it first, right? Or I want to take this one and move it down to the bottom because I'm not going to do that till later. And this actually reschedules the priorities. And if there's any dependencies or anything like that, it changes on everybody else's screen. So it's really nice that it will let you optimize what you're going to do. The priority system for these work orders has also been exposed. So I could select a number of these and go, hey, this is going to be my level 0 highest priority. And it will actually change the priority on the work order. So if you turn those functionalities on and you let your operators do this sort of thing, the system will let you do it and respect what's going on with that. All right, so what else can we do in here besides see that I need to work on this job? Well, obviously the next thing probably would be to start the run, right? So all the buttons that you would have in labor to actually do stuff are available in here. And so if you haven't used a real-time labor ticketing system, this lets you actually start a job, clock into it, and then you go off and work on it. And you come back later, let's say it's an hour later, and you go in there and say, stop the job, and the system will automatically compute the time, right? So it's okay, you spent an hour on that job. So the idea is everybody could have one of these, maybe running on their phone, right? Or they're just running through there and click, 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 start, stop, do some stuff, right? But beyond that, all of the information that we have at this step is available to us here. And so you see the buttons up here at the top. Let's look at the details of this step. Click on details, and this is all the information that comes from the operation and the material card in Visual for this step. And so if there's something that's important in here that we're communicating, this is a great place to see all that. You see all the user-defined fields are in here and all that kind of stuff. More importantly, right, the specifications are in here. So I know there's a pretty big focus on the ability to put in operational steps at the work order, but you're not printing out that traveler and reading all those things on the document. It's kind of hard to communicate that effectively. Now you can pass that right through to the website and put detailed operational instructions or whatever you need to do in here. And you know that stuff is going to get right in the operator's face. It's a great advantage for us, right? It also means that an engineer could add information 3 minutes ago, right? And I go in here to work on the job and boom, my paperwork is up to date. It's always up to date. We don't have a lot of documents and stuff on here, but it's very common to put things like assembly instructions and drawings and things like that on the actual work orders, and you can attach those right to the operation. If I've done that here, all those documents will be available to us right here on the screen. This stuff, if you use the ECN modules, can go under full rev control, so they can be official, real assembly drawings and things like that, again, that are always up to date. You click on that. Hopefully it's a picture or PDF or something. Really any document format you want to stick on there, you can put on there. And it becomes a thing that people can use, including things like spreadsheets and, let's start talking about statistical process controls and stuff. But all of that interaction and the advantages of having live documents come to life once you get onto this stuff. Here, one of the exciting things to me about this, if you haven't seen this yet, is from the web interface. I can go in here and say, I'd like to add something to this step. So imagine that you had the operator out there doing a thing, and then your quality system says, hey, if you do something weird, you got to take a picture of it and let's attach it to our work order. This actually facilitates that. If I'm sitting here on my phone and I've taken a picture, I can just go in here and say, let's go grab that picture and stick it on there. That's a SQL file, but you can imagine. So as I put that on there, it would actually attach it to the work order. And then again, the engineers at the home office could immediately pull up the work order, pull up that new document, which hopefully is a picture, and then make comments about it, start in CR or whatever it is that we're going to do. So this is real-time interaction from the floor. And if you have a distributed system and one guy's in LA and the other guy's in New York, how else would you do it, right? It makes it amazing. So the other buttons on here make sense, but we can go through some of these items from the details on here. This is all the materials that are attached to this operation. In this case, all we need is stainless steel. Again, you get the opportunity to see all of the information that you might want about that. And if you click on the piece of material, you can actually interact with that. If you have the material issue module, you can go right here and say, I'd like to go ahead and issue this. It says, hey, this is already all closed out and issued. You sure you want to do this? No, I don't want to do that. But look at the screens that we have on here, right? So again, it gives you the ability to say, I'm transacting this many pounds onto this job right now. Description's right here. So this goes into the description on the material issue. So if you're over issuing or if you're doing something weird, you can actually go in there and type a note saying I had to issue it again because, reasons. All that information is immediately available to anybody that wants to go pay attention to it. One of the exciting new things that's been added in Visual 10 is a material move module or whip module. I don't know if you guys have had any exposure to that, but that's completely integrated into this. So if at the completion of this step, one of the items is we got to create a move request because it takes like a forklift to move the stuff. You can just feather that right here into it and say, I would like to create a new move request to have the dude with the forklift come move this to my next operation. So this works for any of these items. We haven't started any runtime on here, but I mean, the main thing I wanted to do on here is say, let's start the run, right? So the first thing it says is my employee ID is Paul, and it says I'm not clocked in. So I kind of skipped a bunch of stuff. I got so excited about coming to work, I didn't even clock in. So let's go take care of that. I want to go clock in. So I'm going to go back up to my main menu here where we were diving into the schedule, and let's just talk about the labor side. What do we see in here? Oh, clock in, clock out, go on break, report some indirect time, right? Sweeping the floor. I don't know. So you set all these indirect codes up for yourself. Notice there's a barcode symbol right here. If we allow barcoding on the system and I have my employee barcode, I can literally just scan that right there and it'll automatically clock me into this. So I'm not going to do indirect time. I'm just going to clock in. All right. Yep. All right, Paul, I'm clocked in for the day. So now you see the clock in button is not available. This also is really an individual employee portal. I could go through here and look at my timesheet basically for the day. What all have I done, right? This morning, I think all I've done is clock in. And so you see what's happening there. All right. So from here, I could start the run, but I don't know the work order ID and all that information. And if I had my material barcode and stuff, I could scan that in here and clock into that job. But let's go back to the scheduling screen and get back into my 10-ton operation, back onto my work order number 40,005. And let's start the run on that now. There we go. So it fills everything out in here automatically for you. And if there's any other stuff you might want to change, some shops are set up to allow a generic where I would go in and put in the specific machine here. And so if you had a more complex labor reporting situation, this would accommodate that. In this case, we don't have to do anything but clock in. So there we go. I'm on the job now and I'm working. So now I go off and do my thing, and it's going to take a certain amount of time. Again, if I'm a supervisor and I want to see what's going on, right, then there's a place in here to say, show me who all is clocked in, right? Oh, Paul's in, right? He's working on the 10-ton press brake. Cool. So this really becomes an amazing, interactive, fully electronic version of your schedule that you can just run. All right, let's pretend like I've done all my work now on that job and I want to finish what I'm doing. I can go back to the thing that I saw in here. You see the status is still gives me more information as what I can do. I want to stop this job right now. I'm going to clock out of it basically, right? Since I'm clocked into a job, it was a 10-ton press. Let's report that I've processed 15 units. I have no idea what the number is because I'm not a very good employee. Let's pretend like I finished 15 on here. All that information is entered into the visual database in real time. This job now has that labor ticket on there. So maybe it might be interesting to go look at visual and see what happened, right? We know that we're making transactions. Let's pretend like I'm a supervisor and I just want to go see what kind of labor tickets are being reported. So let's go into labor ticket entry. And so if you've used Visual, you're familiar with these screens. And I want to show you what these labor tickets look like, right? So let's look at labor tickets from today. Oh, it's Paul. There's two. So this one is probably the I'm in indirect now because I'm not clocked into a job, and so it accumulates how much time you spend not working, right? As well as the thing that I actually did up here, which is reported 0.04 hours on this job, right, and finished my 15 units. So what's important to understand about this is is not a replacement for labor ticket entry. This is really something that works with labor ticket entry. And as a supervisor, I could even go in here and correct this and say, Paul, you didn't finish 15 units. You only did one. And you correct it right there in real time. If we wanted to go into more details, then the regular visual stuff works. I can click these hot links and jump right into the work orders. Here's the step that I was just working on. Supposed to be 300 pieces an hour processing on this. You can see here's how much of it I have finished. And if we went into the work order, obviously you can see the various labor tickets that have been issued. This is the same thing, right? Got on here the other day and did some work on it. And
Actually, Darren,
yeah,
we had a question, and exactly you're showing the screen, and I want to read the question that comes from the attendee. Will shop floor transactions be visible as progress in the visual manufacturing window?
yep, that's exactly right. In fact, that's what we're seeing right here in the background. This is accumulating this bar showing you how many hours you've reported against the total, right? So we expect there to be whatever the total is on that, a couple hours or how many ever been reported. Set up 7.5 hours, 300 pieces per hour. This thing's like 89% done or something. If I've overissued on the job or if I've over-reported on the time, you would see that as well. So this one's got quantity per of 0.692, and I'm making 4,000 units at my top level, right? So if I go to this step on the website and go straight to material, then I can take this cold rolled steel, right, and say issue, and it wants 4,400 pounds. Hey, let's do it. So now issued that to the job, and now I put on my engineer hat or my production manager hat. I want to see what's going on with this job. I expect for this item to show populated when I refresh the screen. There you go. We've completely issued all the material. So it's real time. There's more labor to report. Certainly can be on the website out on the floor. Go back into this step and report labor. Oh, there's the labor tickets that have been in there. There's also a receive work order step. So let's pretend like this is the only thing that is on here, and I'm the guy that makes sure everything's done. And I'm going to say, yeah, we're actually finished, right? I want to go ahead and receive some number. Let's receive 2,000 units. I don't have a warehouse or location, but let's see if we can find one. Oh, invalid work order. So this is probably not ready to be done yet. I think I can't receive it till it's finished, so I probably shouldn't do that. So the rest of the things are on here, and it's actually pretty amazing if you go back and start thinking about the way that you might present different views for different people. I always go in and have, a quality view and a supervisor view, and then each individual kind of employee or department can only see the stuff that's in their area. And by effectively letting everyone look at everything or whatever's irrelevant for them, look, here's some stuff with the pictures, right? It really gives you this nice visual input. Imagine if this was a PC board and you had your, stuffing positions and all that kind of stuff on here. You could have them use that as a reference. I have a few clients that are putting these up on, big LED screens in the department. And you get a touch screen and it becomes a whole magical thing, right? You're just punching it up right there in a big screen. You can pull spreadsheets and drawings up and do whatever you need to do on this. So the rest of the stuff, let's see if there's any other pictures on here. Oh, there you go. There's the leg part. And that's also the thing that we're making from the work order. So depending on how much you've populated on these items in Visual, there's more or less information available on here. Notice there's a separate drawing section, which I don't see right now, but you can also access a whole set of just drawings if you've integrated with your drawing, with your CAD works or CAD systems. All right, any other questions at this point? I don't think it's going to be at a huge advantage for us to rerun the schedule and see what happens, but as soon as the schedule reruns, all this information is live. And in fact, it's just using the API from Visual to pull all this information in. All right, so let's talk about some of the other functional parts of the system. I mean, the scheduling lets you get to every part of it, but you don't have to use that if you're not using the schedule in Visual, or if you're not the kind of person that wants to do that. I could go straight into labor and just say you're going to start the run. Now zap the barcode on your work order document, right? As soon as you do that, it will automatically populate this, and you go immediately to the start run, hit save type thing. So it really could be a drop-in replacement for whatever barcoding solution that you're using right now. When we look at just the work order material issue, it's got all the stuff in here. I could just say adjust in parts, right? So this is really a full interface to the inventory transaction screen. And so if you have permission to do this in the database, then I could just go in here and say, let's adjust in some of these parts, right? Including the various locations and the reason that we did it, right? It's not going to let us do that because I haven't defined any locations for it yet. So all the rules for Visual still apply. Inter-branch transfers or location transfers, also something that happens all the time. This is something you might just turn on for your supervisors. And if you look at what this employee has done, you can do full work order transaction history. And part lookup is an individual, kind of a cool function in here. Let's see what you got. There you go. 1/4-inch plate steel. So I just want to see what I can see about that, right? There's the details, including all the user-defined fields for this piece of material. This is coming right off the part maintenance screen. Oh, and I'm glad to see in here you've got the labels coming in for these reference designators and stuff. See this sales review complete, yes or no, all that stuff is coming through. So you can also browse the inventory transactions that have happened, right? So here's where we issued the job earlier. Any questions about the material interaction screens on here? Okay, let's go back and see what else we can see in here. In the original versions of Shop Floor, and depending on what version of Visual that you're running, you may not have the extended items on here. But over the last year or so, Infor has done a great job of continuing to enhance the Shop Floor mobile system. So adding the ability to do purchase receipts is a really cool thing, right? So this is something that your receiving department would would look at. If they wanted to go in here, they could see here are all the work purchase orders that are open, right? So this really becomes their main purchase order receiving screen. And if something comes in the back door, hopefully they can just click a button, right, and say, let's go receive that. Right, wants to go into area 1. I didn't pay attention to how many we're supposed to get. Let's see, 532. Let's just pretend we got that. No, maybe I got to put it somewhere else. All right, I don't know what I'm doing then. Maybe we got to go up here. Receiver, dispatch. I have to go into inspection. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not letting me type a number in here, but I haven't set everything up in here. Once you're able to receive the thing into a valid location, it should let you just hit submit on here and receive those items. Let's receive 2 more on here. So as you can see, I think this one is going to let us do it. And then you should have a record of all these things that are happening in there as well. Physical inventory is another one that's really kind of interesting, but it's limited, right? Obviously, I don't have any physical inventory counts going right now, but this is really amazing, right? Once you're actually trying to do physical inventory, you get 100 guys out there all entering tickets on your website at the same time. It becomes an important extension of your ability to conduct physical counts, and being able to do it from your phone makes it that much better. And for people that are saddled with, full physical inventory counts in a regular all the time, this gives you the ability to enter those things without having to make it such a teeth pulling kind of exercise and completing your physical inventory. So similar to purchasing, there's a shipping button out here, and this is kind of what you would expect, right? If I go to ship some stuff, I can just pick my customer orders or enter them in. And once we do that, right, I can go in here and actually conduct those, create those packing slips. And something hasn't been set up right, but you get the idea.
Darren, we have a question. I'm not sure which part for which part did you ask? But can you initiate cycle counting from this?
Yeah, I don't actually think that the cycle counting system is on here, but I have not gone in and created a cycle count to see if I can enter counts against them. In the back end, the cycle counts are just physical inventory counts. So since I haven't gone in and created any physical inventories, I haven't used this module enough yet to know. But I would imagine that if it's a regular physical count, which a cycle count is just a small physical count, that you could enter them through here. No, I can find out about that, but I believe that was the intent with this. The other thing that is available in here is the WIP material move module. And so this is another area that's brand new for me. I haven't had a chance to really mess with it a whole lot, but the magic of the WIP move module that Infor has added is that you can do a material move request regardless of whether it's an inventory part number or not. So the need was I have a box of miscellaneous WIP here that I need to make sure gets moved from point A to point B. You can go in and create a move request and assign an ID to it, right? And actually print out a label if you want. And that actually pops up on someone else's to-do list, right, of going off and we have to now move the stuff. And it's also a module that's available inside the system, inside Visual, and so it works with that. If you get in through the material move modules here, right? So as you're creating the moves either through the main screens of Visual or on the website, it's all the same stuff. And this gives us the ability to go in and be the material move guy, right? And see all the move requests that are out there and just start crossing them off the list. So the idea is I'm a guy driving around on a forklift just waiting for requests, hey, move this from here to there, right? Or whatever. And there's lots of other stuff. Anything that you need to move, it can have part numbers, obviously, but it would be, the way I always think about it is something that requires more than just the individual operator to go off and do a thing. Okay, so that's really the functionality in there of it. I thought, we might want to take a look behind the curtain a little bit just to understand how the preferences can be set up per user. But these shop floor mobile websites are tied to a particular site. And so if you have a different user, I think you can assign them to a different site, but I don't believe you could have like one user operating in multiple sites, right? And so this is tied to the login ID, which site it is that I'm a member of. And then beyond this, you set your scheduling preferences. You can see the default sort right now. That's to sort it by just the work order ID. But you could go through there if you're driven by customer orders. You could sort it by customer order. Or if you're just doing due date on work orders, that way the oldest stuff will be at the top. And then if you're running the schedule and relying on that, you would probably want to set this to be sorted by schedule date. This shows you the statuses that you can include on the screen for your schedule. Right now, I've got it set to firmed and released orders. In a production environment, you may only want to let people see the things that are actually released. The way that first view that we saw in scheduling is controlled is by shop views in the scheduling window. And so depending on what department you are, you would set up different views and say, this user's view is going to be operator, right? Or everything, or whatever you defined in there. This does have its own horizon. And so it's not going to load any work orders that are out further than 120 days, depending on the number of work orders that you have and you know how the website performs. You may want to reduce that down to something lower, and the rest of the options on here. And so then all the other modules have their own preferences. In the material move module, this is really designed to let you set up your material rules according to what you allow on here. This one really is, what do you want it to do when you've done it, right? Either clear the form and let them continue to enter stuff, or are you going to just do one transaction and go back to the main menu or the previous menu so that you can pick something else. So depending on the type of repetitive entries and things that you want, you'll set those up to your preferences. So a lot of this stuff really is just affecting the interface, right? Do you want it to do a separate pop-up when you hit save saying, okay, we saved it? Do you want it to do a pop-up when you hit save says, are you sure you want to do this? Because you can imagine sometimes people get on websites and just start banging all the keys. Sometimes you want to slow those guys down a little bit. Here you go. See you can set defaults on your material moves. So in smaller shops, you're just going to have the pickup person is going to be the designated guy. You may want to pre-fill that in so that we don't have to specify I need Bob to do this over there or whatever, right? And the same thing with shipping is really just controlling your main interface. All right, very cool. All right, what else am I missing here? I hate to buzz through these things too quickly, but think about how to implement your schedule electronically. This is it, right? And if you already have the required number of barcode licenses, I think the thing is free to you. I know it was in previous versions. I know that with Visual 10, they've switched it over to be a separately licensed thing, but it's not terribly expensive, right? And it really is kind of a pretty cool deal. They're going to continue to add more functionality to this as we go through. I think Visual 11 is going to come out here anytime, and it's got some additional functions. And this website concept is something that they're really building on as well. My understanding is there's a contact manager as well. That's a website you can get into and browse contacts, which is a pretty cool deal. All right. Well, if there's not any more questions, I think that's gonna wrap it up for me. I'm happy to talk. I love visuals, so I'm happy to talk about this as much as you guys can imagine.
We actually have a couple of questions. One of the question is, what are the advantages of Visual Shop over the old wedge labor barcode and BTS modules?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. We kind of touched on it during the presentation, but in the old days, and I can't imagine there's anybody here that remembers what BTS is, right? But there was an original system from a group called CompuServe, maybe something like that made these cool little LED like 10 keypads that you could deploy on your shop floor, and you could use the BTS system, and it actually used a text prompting system to allow you to enter labor details, right? Old school POS style, and then later they came out with the regular barcode system that would allow you to use what's called a wedge barcode, a keyboard type barcode, where you could just zap paperwork and have the thing go. All those systems still work with Visual, and so if you're still using them and they work for you, great. The advantage of this system is that it really brings it into the modern age as a website. And so now you don't have to have dedicated hardware. You don't have to have clunky plug-in barcode machines. you can go to your cell phones and use one of the new Bluetooth barcode readers if you want to get fancy, right? It all still works together to feed the labor and to make it easy to do things. But in my opinion, this is an advantage over the barcode system because you can eliminate the barcodes, right? If you're in a place where you can just zip around and navigate and click and point and do things on your phone or a tablet, you get one of those hardened Panasonic tablets, and go in there and do all the stuff. It really decreases that amount of time that it takes to get this type of information, especially when you're talking about quality problems, right? Really decreases the time to instant. So you can say, hey, this job is stopped. Here's a picture of it. Notice everything's on fire. What do y'all want to do, right? As opposed to let's have a meeting about it, in a couple hours. And so to me, that's the biggest advantage. That was a good question.
And we have another question. I mean, it's a bit, I don't know. Is Visual Shop as easy to use as it looks?
That is another good question. Yeah, it is, right? I mean, I'm intentionally kind of fumbling around here as we were messing around with stuff, but you can see if you know how to surf the web, surf the internet, then you're going to know how to operate this system. And so that becomes easy. It becomes something that is just apparent on how to do that, right? In fact, I see another question just popped in from BJ here. Can you use a camera to scan barcodes? The short answer is yes, but it's a longer issue than that. You have to have software that will let you scan the barcode and then just barf out the barcode as text, right? So if you use your Google Lens and you point at one of the visual barcodes, it will decode the text, and you'd have to click on the text, copy it, and then jump back over to the shop floor mobile interface and tell it to paste that in there, and it would do that. So it's not as instant and magic as you might think, but still, if you don't want to type in a gigantic string, barcodes are still a great way to do that.
Okay, let's see if we have any other question. Please ask your questions because we still have some time to finish. But in that moment, I want to ask Darren, can we be completely paperless on the shop floor? Because it's one of the questions that we receive a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it becomes complicated, especially in a quality shop, right? If you wrote your quality systems to allow for it, I'm sure you could find a way to do that. But in the end, having an operator make a mark on a piece of paper saying I did it is pretty important. It becomes really about how do I deliver timely information, and then how do I get that back saying that we know that it happened. And so it is a complete system, and that you could make it paperless, but you'd have to change a lot of stuff, right? You got to get your engineers to put the documents on there in the right format, and make sure that everyone's attuned to reading the things and responding appropriately. But yeah, this gives you the framework that you need if you wanted to have a paperless shop. But how do you get there from here? That's the big question.
Yeah, everyone should be aligned, I believe.
Right. That's right.
This. Yeah. Okay. So far, we don't have any more question.
Somebody asked about VTA, right? Visual time and attendance earlier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true.
If you guys are using visual time and attendance, this does work completely with visual time and attendance. And so this is not a visual time and attendance database, but just for everyone that may or may not know what that is, visual time and attendance is effectively the labor extension to visual that it gives you a full-blown kind of payroll processing type interface where you set up hours per shift, per employee. You can have separate timesheets from time cards. So you got regular direct labor in there punching away on jobs, but you could also have other employees that are indirect, right? Like engineers working on development or something like that. They have their own set of time cards. So you could still have this supervisor approving people's time thing going on there. with VTA, and it gives you a whole nother set of more complex rules. I'm not sure where everyone's based, and I'm not super familiar with all the fun labor laws that occur in Canada. But I've done a fair amount of work in California, and I'm on the West Coast now. And some of that stuff gets really funky, right? You get all the taxing authorities. You got cities where the warehouse is in a different taxing authority than the parent company, and they all pay attention to people's labor for some reason. So the payroll is important. Anyway, the point is, exotic, time break rules, things like that, can be accommodated with VTA, right? Where it's like, once you work more than 6 hours in a day, it kicks into overtime, or once you work more than 40 hours in a week, it kicks into overtime, or you have pay periods that last for 2 weeks, and things get to be really complex. That's when you need something like VTA. It does do that, and it works really well. VTA also has its own kiosk system. This would be complementary to the kiosk system in VTA. So you could still have your VTA kiosk doing the actual time entry and approvals, and still use the scheduling part of all this to see and interact with your jobs. It's pretty cool the way they've integrated that.
Yeah. And so we have I don't know if you see the other question. You would do labor collecting from SVM, but VTA can still be used for payroll.
That's right, because the labor tickets that get entered for direct time on jobs will still be under those employees in VTA, right? So it's entering it all kind of into the same system. And the way that VTA works is transacting records back and forth. My understanding is that these labor tickets will show up in VTA.
And
editing labor tickets. I think I'm seeing it at the same time you are. Yes, you can edit labor tickets that are entered through here. In fact, you'll need to do that because inevitably employees are going to clock in here, and I don't know what happens. They just leave. They're gone. They don't clock out. They're going to clock into jobs, and then they're just going to be out, and suddenly they got 12 hours in a job. So whenever that happens, you're still going to need to do what you would normally do, which is get into the visual system. I'm going to go back and find my inventory transaction. There's the labor tickets right there. Get into labor ticket entry and go pull up those labor tickets. Every single one of these transactions will create a labor ticket. And you certainly can open the labor ticket here on the screen and do whatever's appropriate, right? Change the guy's quantity complete, or say, no, he spent an hour on the job. I don't know what he was thinking. And that immediately updates it in the system. And then as we look at what's happened to this work order, that's all real time, right? It adjusts everything there. So you see that. Very, very cool.
Okay. And we have also another question. How good are the warehouse management system capabilities built into Visual Shop?
Well, it's not really full warehouse management, and I think they're sneaking up on that as a solution. I think the material move module, this WIP module that we're seeing in here, is really what we're talking about. And so the stuff that we're seeing in Visual, the ability to look at and assign the various locations as you're receiving products, or receiving purchasing, or doing material moves inside the warehouse, right? All that functionality is in here. So between the ability to transfer between locations and to create move requests, that's pretty good. I mean, that's really what you want in your warehouse management stuff, from a visual perspective, anyway.
Okay. And so we have another question here. Is Visual Shop Floor Mobile considered a manufacturing execution system?
I mean, it's not a formal manufacturing execution system. It's really just the thing that gets it done for you, right? By delivering this to the people that are subject to the schedule and having them report the status on these jobs in real time. It's very similar to that, right? I'm not sure that if your compliance officer requires that you have that this counts, but I haven't gone in and done an evaluation of it.
I see. Okay. Okay. So I think, I don't know if we still have a little bit time, so you can continue to ask your questions if you have. But if you don't have, I think we can close. So, and thank you everyone to attend to this webinar. We really appreciate your attendance, and thank you so much, Darren. It was a great presentation. So you showed almost all the functionalities on Visual Shop Floor, which is a perfect software. Okay, so thank you so much and have a great day. And if you have any questions further, please let us know. I actually want to show you one more time our email addresses here. Just a second. So if you have questions, please let us know. You can reach Darren or you can reach Sherry Behzadi. She's our customer success manager. So you can reach out to her and we would be glad to answer all your questions. And thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks.